Our distinguished and eminent presenter, Sri Shashikant Chaudhary, is Senior Research Scientist, Bharat Electronics. Completed his ME in Electronics Control from BITS Pilani in December 1997 and joined Central Research Laboratory CRL of Bharat Electronics Limited through campus selection in March 1998. From March 1998, he worked in projects such as NX32E1, Digital Cross Connect, and Multiplexer for telecom segment. He worked on multimedia streaming and MPLS for joint projects with IISc Bangalore. Later, he was involved in the design and development of various network encryptors, data links, radio on the move, Wi-Fi solution, LTE-based solution for defense segment, and presently he is working as group head for wireless network group of CRL BEL, concentrating on 5G-based station solution, radio for metros, rail communications, etc. A very warm welcome to you, sir, and over to you for your presentation.
Good day. So my topic today is a new commission system for railways, design considerations and challenges. So this is my agenda. So I'll be briefing about the CBTC and ETCS systems then positioning, and then compare the cellular networks for the commercial and railway networks. Then the mission critical services for the railways, FRMCS architecture I'll discuss. Then what are the key issues and technological challenges for the HSR, and then conclude. So this is the first topic is the CBTC, that is the commission-based train control system. So as shown in the architecture, the CBTC system consists of the train side or the train side radio and the wayside or the track side railway radio. And the commission is established using this radio between these two systems, and it uses the continuous and high capacity radio commission between train and wayside instruments infrastructure to transmit train control information. Using this, highly accurate train location is sent, and the principal use in CBTC is moving block operation as compared to the fixed block operation, which is used in other ETCS system, which I will tell in the later slides. The result is the short headways. So I will tell what is the headways. So headways is the time difference between the two trains on the same track. So because of this CBTC, it will result in shorter headways and increase, and thus capacity means the number of trains on the track increases. A typical headway in CBTC system is 90 seconds or less, and it enables advanced features such as driverless and unattended trains operation, which is suitable for the autonomous trains. And first CBTC system was installed in 2003 by Bombardier. Then I will talk about the ERTMS and ETCS. So ERTMS is the European Rail Traffic Management System, and ETCS is used by that. ETCS is specified by the UIC, which is International Union of Railways, and this ERTMS is the combination of GSM-R and ETCS. So GSM-R here is different from the normal commercial GSM network. It is customized for the railway requirement. This ERTMS, it allows any manufacturer train-borne equipment to work with any manufacturer trackside equipment. Thus, interoperability, multi-vendor situation is created. Then ETCS, it is the European Train Control System. It is standardized signaling control and train protection system for ERTMS. It provides more knowledge about the track availability, which helps to increase network capacity. And it is used worldwide. Many of the countries in the continents it is used, and it provides a rich functionality to railway that allows advanced supervision of rail track equipment and rolling stock. Safety and efficiency of the train operation is the most important thing, and it depends on this ETCS. ETCS is having 3 levels based on the functions and features that I will be explaining in coming slides. ETCS levels here. So level 1. In this, communication between track and the train process through dedicated balias or Eurobalias installed on the tracks. GSM-R is used only for voice communication, and the speed up to 160 kmph can be achieved. ETCS level 2. It does not require any line-side signals, which reduce infrastructure and maintenance cost. Onboard equipment directly communicate to radio block controller center using GSM-R. And GSM-R is in continuous supervision of train opposition and automatic train control. Various ETCS messages are transmitted using this GSM-R, and the content of this ETCS messages is processed and displayed to train driver on a digital display inside his cabin. So he has to see these messages when he's driving the train. So the first ETCS level 2 system was introduced in India in 1999 at Delhi Agra section, and the speed can be achieved up to 230 kmph. Then the ETCS level 3. So level 1 and level 2 uses fixed block, while L3 uses moving block operation. And train speeds can be up to 500 kmph can be achieved. So diagrammatically, I will show here various levels. So in the level 1, it is the driver has to see the traffic lights outside the railway track. In level 2, the driver has to see the traffic lights outside the railway track, and simultaneously the GSMR base station will be sending the information and which will be available in front of his cabin. In ETCS level 3, we don't have to look outside for the traffic lights. GSMR base station can send the information which is directly available to the driver in front of his cabin. The difference here is the integrity, as shown in the red in this color. So integrity of the train is the method to ensure that all coaches are intact and available. So this is about the various ETCS levels. So I'll be comparing now the different ETCS levels, level 1, level 2, and level 3. So each railway track is divided into blocks, different blocks. So that different blocks can be in L1, L2, it is short, and in L3 there are no blocks. And for the position of the train, exact position is known in ETCS level 3, while and level 1 and level 2 only block section only position is known. In the given block, where exactly is the train, that is not known in level 1 and level 2. For more accuracy, we should go for the level 3, which is used for the autonomous trains and driverless trains. Train integrity, as I told earlier, it is crucial in level 3, and others are anyway given here. So I'll move to the next slide. Here I'll be comparing CBTC versus ETCS. So CBTC signaling is the moving block operation, and ETCS is the fixed block operation. In CBTC, line side signals are needed for the ETCS L1 only, while in ETCS, line side signals are not needed. CBTC system is suitable for the metro or rapid rail transit systems for the shorter distances, and ETCS system is suitable for the long distance rail networks. CBTC system is standardized by the ERTMS, and ETCS is partially standardized by the IEEE. CBTC range of the radio is less, few hundred meters, while in ETCS it is few kilometers, quite higher. Then in CBTC it is based on the IEEE 802.11 based wireless technology, while ETCS uses cellular technologies such as GSMR, LTR, 5GR, which are customized for the railway requirement. CBTC system is not interoperable and interchangeable, and ETCS, it allows the system to be interoperable and interchangeable. Because of this, CBTC system, single vendor has to provide complete system, while in ETCS, multiple vendors can provide each subsystem. Then this is the worldwide deployment of the CBTC system. So it is continent-wise, it is given like this in this figure. So majority of this is in Asia and then US. And in this diagram, it is CBTC company-wide distribution is given. The major companies like Thales, Alstom, Siemens, and their share is given. This is the source. Then the ETCS system worldwide deployment, various L1 and L2. India is having L1 system, and ultra-wideband BALIAS is installed in many of the countries. I will be talking about UWB BALIAS in the coming slide. Then train positioning. Train speed control requires constant knowledge of the geographical location of all the trains. So for this purpose, we should be knowing the train positioning. So what are the technologies used for train positioning? One is the track circuit. What is track circuit? It is a simple electrical circuit which detects the presence or absence of the train on the track. It is the older technology. Then train odometry using axle counters. Here speed and covered distance is determined by knowing the circumference of the wheel. Then microwave Doppler radars, which are pointed to the ballast. Here, speed and distance is measured. Then various GNSS sensors such as GPS, GLONASS, this type of sensors are used to give the accurate position. Then Balias. It is an electronic beacon or transponder placed between rails of railway, and it acts as a kilometer marker. They are installed regularly along track at regularly known locations so that passing train can read their absolute location on the fly. So once the train goes on the track, it's using these Balias antennas and systems, its exact location is determined. So current Balias technology, that is Euro Balias, it uses 27 MHz frequency, high power signal emitted from an interrogator or beacon reader located under the train. Then other emerging technologies in Balias are radio frequency identification, RFID, ultra wideband UWB Balias. It uses 3.1 to 10 gigahertz frequency. So in the next slide, I will be comparing about the conventional Balias and UWB Balias. So as seen here, the communication range, transmission rates, and the accuracy are more in UWB Balias. So for the more upcoming futuristic things, UWB Balias is required. Then here I'll be talking about the commercial cellular network and the cellular network used for the railways. So in the commercial cellular network, the main objective is to have the maximum coverage. Maximum population should be covered. So that is the objective. While in the railway networks, it is designed for the guaranteed performance. And the cellular model means how the radiation pattern in which area, geographical area the signal is reached. That is the cellular model. So in commercial network, it is hexagonal. While in the railways, it is the because railway signals are these cellular signals are required only along the track and not other things. So that's why the cellular model is linear or curvilinear wherever the curvatures are there. The exception is that whenever the station is coming, it should be hexagonal like in commercial networks. And in commercial networks, dedicated solutions for the tunnels are required. Then in commercial networks, occasional failures are allowed, while in cellular railway networks, it is limited maintenance windows only will be there, and no failures are required. It should be mission critical system should be there. Then geographical coverage, here minimum overlap is required, while in railway network, certain overlap or double coverage is required to achieve that mission critical communication requirements. Voice services in commercial networks are done using VoLTE or VoNR, while in railway it depends on the MCPTT, that is mission critical push to talk services. I'll be talking about MCPTT in coming slides. The next parameter is the commercial networks are the designed for the massive broadband data services, while railway requires more critical data communication for automatic and other operations of the train. Other features which are used in railway networks are they are dependent on the priority and preemption. So priority preemption means based on the hierarchy, if all network resources are utilized, they can preempt or stop the existing call and they can give resources to the new call. So that type of features are not required in commercial network, while in railway networks it is required. Then it uses functional addressing, location-based addressing. Based on the location, the call can go. These type of features are not required in commercial networks. And here then system upgrades only in the coordination with the railway undertaking, while in commercial cellular network, they can do without knowing the customers. Then commercial networks are based on the certain base station capacity, the number of subscribers given for the commercial network will be more. So they'll be statistically multiplexed. But here in railway, that is not the case. Here, service throughput guarantee at the cell edge at handover points, it has to be ensured. Then based on the quality of service, it is best support data communication in commercial network. While for the railway network, it is critical application having very strong QoS and service guarantee is required. And traffic handling, once again, it is priority and preemption. Based on that, it has to be done, like I told earlier. In the uplink versus downlink ratio, so it is asymmetric in cellular commercial networks, because most of the times people will be downloading, while in the railway network, uplink is more than the downlink. Then here I'll be talking about the what are the cellular technologies used for railways. So the current existing one is the GSM-R. So GSM standards are customized for the railway requirements, and that systems are operational in many parts worldwide. But that system is becoming old, and it is continuity is ensured until 2030. And the main shortcomings of the GSM-R are that capacity is limited throughput, cost is high, long development cycle time, such that. And already it is obsolescence has been observed, and it will be there up to 2030. So what is upcoming in this area? So that is the LTE-R or 5G-R. So there are so many standardization bodies, and the stakeholders are in this. But the major one is the FRMCS, that is Future Railway Mobile Communication System, and UIC, that is UIC. These are the main instrumental, and they have started this project in 2014 for 3 years, and they are released some standards for that. And then followed by this, FRMCS is giving the user requirements and the use cases, and based on that, ETCS is standardizing the documents for the railway requirements. So 4G LTE and 5G NR, these are the two technological options. So here I'll be talking about the Future Railway Mobile Communication System. So it is for the upcoming standard, and it will have the same or better operational efficiency than the GSM-R, and it enables for the digitalization of the all services. It is designed for the flexible and future-proof system. It will be there for quite some time, and it provides the better quality of service and priority handling, and therefore ETCS is needed. ETCS is needed to be QoS aware. This 3GP mission critical services, other than this voice, there are mission critical data and video. They are also defined by the 3GPP now, and the standards have been released by 3GPP. And the transition will be happening slowly, so it will be GSM-R also will exist for some time, and in the future GSM and FRMCS networks will coexist for some time. And new FRMCS standard is expected to start replacing GSM-R by 2022-23. As shown in the diagram, FRMCS is bearer independent, radio agnostic application on top of the standard mobile telephone equipment, that is LTE, 5G, or in future 6G also. So this FRMCS will be based on the release 15, 16, 17. 15, 16 already been standardized by the 3GPP. 17 will be upcoming. So here I'll be talking about the mission critical services for the railways. So this MCPTT is first started in defined by the 3GPP in release 13, and it is not an over-the-top OTT voice over IP applications like WhatsApp and Skype. So here in this slide I'm telling about the difference between OTT VoIP and the MCPTT. So in OTT VoIP, it is your voice call itself is like a data stream, but in MCPTT it is like a voice grade call with the high quality guaranteed bitrate services, higher priority, that type of things. And one more feature is the group call, broadcast call. That type of features are not available in this one. In MCPTT it is available. Multicast also not available here. In MCPTT, eMBMS means for multicast operation in LTE. And in the 5G, it is multimedia and broadcast service MBS. That will be in initial release 15. It was not there, but in upcoming releases, this MBS service is being defined by the 3GPP. Then here I am showing the GSM-R services. So these GSM-R services are different from the regular commercial GSM networks. So this group calls, broadcast calls, all these features are not there in commercial GSM networks. They are being customized for the GSM-R features, GSM-R networks. And here I am showing these services, how they are mapped to MCPTT features. So for example, if you see the VGCS, it will be called as a group call here. So like this mapping is there. So multicast, once again, it will be similar like a previous slide. And one more important feature is direct mode of operation DMO. Here it will be in 4G and 5G. It will be called it will be realized using proximity based services. Here I am showing about the FRMCS architecture. So this is the railway track, and here train is there. So this is the main cell, and these are the adjacent cells. And the coverage, because we don't we need the coverage along the track, not in this direction. That's why the pattern is the not circular. It is oval shape. That's why antenna required also should be directional antennas. And here the single base station is sufficient here, and the big certain overlapping areas is there where the certain throughput has to be ensured in these handover regions. And the typical transmit power of the base stations will be plus 40 to 46 dBm. Then this was about the track side radios. Then here I am talking about the train side radios. So this is the architecture, onboard equipment. So it consists of the antenna installed on the roof of the train, feeder line, and the cab radio. And the typical power output will be, this is the UE, user equipment. And the standard power output will be 23 dBm. But in certain cases, high power UEs with plus 31 dBm can be used. And this onboard equipment consists of the LTE or 5G router, modem, MMI and display unit, MCPTT handset. Different handsets will be there where switch will be there for it has to be pressed for talking. So this is about the onboard equipment. So here I am showing about the FRMCS timelines and activities. So this URS and use cases have been already released, and upcoming, this is the plan. FRS, SRS and other things will be released, and based on that, 3GPP and ETSI also are making standards. So as seen here, 2022-23 trials can happen, and already various Plugfests are being organized by for FRMCS and MCX. MCX here is MCPTT, MC video, MC data. These are collectively known as MCX, and already these Plugfests are happening. So here I am talking about the FRMCS technology, that radio access technology. So one is the LTE, and the other is of 5G NR. So in the 5G NR, there are three use cases. One is the eMBB, which is for the very high throughput requirements. Then other is the massive machine type communication, MMTC, for the massive IoT requirements. And URLCC, that is ultra reliable low latency communication, where 1 millisecond latency with 99.99% reliability it can be used. So all these three kinds of communication can be managed independently from each other. But the railway scenario could be the place where all three forms of communication would be strongly coupled. So because of this, network slicing is a feature where all these services can be used simultaneously on the same system, and it will play an important role in the upcoming railway systems. Then here I'll be telling about when you are designing the systems for the railway, especially radio systems, what are the key issues and technological challenges. So achieving the goals of the reliability, availability, maintainability and safety, popularly it is known as RAMS, for the future HSR developed in harsh environment, electromagnetic environment and interference. That is a great challenge. The design must guarantee a high redundancy of coverage at various places in the network where more failures are there. We have to provide redundancy to ensure that mission critical services. To provide the broadband wireless services in such environment, additional focus is required, such as dynamics of the channel responses, handover schemes, then harsh power control under high mobility environments, and effect of high speed in resource scheduling. Then existing GSM networks are the not IP based, but this has to be IP based. So OFC optical fiber cable backbone should be infrastructure should be available before migrating to the FRMCS networks. QoS is always stringent, more stringent. Then linear coverage with the directional antennas along the track is required. GSM-R and LTE 5G spectrum are required to coexist for the initial deployment. Then slowly GSM-R will be going, and then only LTE and 5G based systems will be there. And for autonomous trains, various artificial intelligence based techniques will be used, which will help in improving the informational decisional and learning processes. Signaling and control of data must be provided with security and passenger services. Existing railway services mainly concentrated on the voice call and signaling needs are required to evolve to higher degrees of automation. And maintaining this reliable commission at tunnels and bridges, that is also one of the challenge. Then here I'll be concluding. So we have talked about the CBTC and ETCS. So CBTC is more suitable for the metros, for the short distance networks with the high capacity. And ETCS is more mainly suited for the long distance networks, rail networks. Euro-BLES are widely used for the finding train position, while UWBLES provides more accuracy, range, and throughput. GSM-R continuity is going to be obsolete and it is ensured until 2030. FRMCS is upcoming standard to meet the requirements of the HSR, where 4G LTE and 5G NR are two technological options, where 5G is anyway more dominating. Then mission critical services for the railways will be made by the MCPTT standard, and plug-fetch for the FRMCS standard started already worldwide, and new FRMCS systems are expected to start replacing GSM-R by 2022-23. Thank you.